Hey, I'm Nick Bombrack, and this is the Record Podcast. Thanks for checking out another episode. This one is coming in at just on the wire here, the last possible second. If you listen to the last episode, the mini episode, I was saying how I was not having any interview lined up and just gonna be a last minute thing and roll the dice and see what happened. And boy, did I ever roll the dice on this one, because Tom Deis of the band Via Audio came in at the last second and was able to do an interview. And this one is especially near and dear to my heart because Via Audio is one of my all-time favorite bands. If you follow the podcast on Twitter, you would have seen that I talk about them fairly often. And even a few months back in July, I tweeted something saying, give me Via Audio's contact info because I want to have them on the podcast and tell them how great they are. And here's the manifest destiny of that. It's basically an hour interview of me telling Tom how great his band is. and we really get in depth in the entirety of the band. I'll talk about all their albums, talk about what touring was like during those albums, what recording was like, and current projects he's in, and projects he's been in and out of around while the audio was going on, and stuff he's looking at in the future. But he's a super interesting guy. He's not kind of held down by any one genre. He talks about all these different bands he's been in and all the different genres he's spanned, and it was a really good one for me because, like I said, I mean, their first album, especially Say Something, is could possibly be a top 10 album for me. It's incredible, and the other two full lengths are really great too. They're all really cool and interesting in their own way. So if you haven't heard of Via Audio before, I'm excited for you to listen to this because we get into a lot of stuff. I show a lot of previews of their songs and hoping to make some other lifelong fans out of this band. You can share in the wonder and splendor that is Via Audio. And I've actually been super lucky, hoping to line it up for next week's episode, but basically fell into being able to interview two people from two of my all-time favorite bands. And so Tom is the first part of that, and next week, pending schedules and whatnot, it'll be someone from one of my all-time favorite bands who actually, if you follow me on Twitter, you would see that I've been mentioning wanting to have them on. So it's that one's going to be another one where I'll just be kissing their ass the entire time. So look forward to that. Check out next week's. But for now, here's my interview with Tom Deis of Via Audio.
Someone is around you, no one is inside. Hopeful they might find you soon.
How do you do, sir?
Doing good.
Yeah. So I don't know if have you done a podcast kind of interviewee chat before?
Maybe it's been a while, but
I mean, but you've listened to a podcast, heard
yeah,
podcasts?
sure.
Okay, so basically the little setup for mine is just kind of talking to musicians or people in bands or the industry that I've met throughout the years, or not even met, but most of the time I try to do it as people that I have some familiarity with. But I don't know if I might have sent it in an email, but our paths crossed. I don't even know how many years ago it is now, but probably almost like 8 or 10 years ago. You guys, we played a show together. My band was Dr. Manhattan, and we opened for you somewhere in Rockford, and I don't remember the venue, but because we played in Rockford fairly often, but it was one that we didn't play a lot, and it had a stage. I remember you guys were up on maybe not a very high stage, but you guys played. And you played without your bassist, I believe, because it was like a Jewish holiday, I think.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So
I had to do that a few times.
Yeah. But I just remember especially our band, we just absolutely fell in love with you guys, and it was
nice.
It was right around the time I'm not sure how recently Say Something had come out or was about to come out or had been out for a little while, but like I think we traded CDs. We got a hold of that CD, and like whatever tour we went on right after that was just like nonstop listening to that album,
Oh, cool.
and ended up becoming easily one of my favorite albums of all time. It's so good. And
Thank you.
you made a lifelong fan out of me, because ever since then I've been kind of progressively following you guys, and up until just the other day I've heard the new single, but like the newly released single is, I think it's like a B-side off of the last album.
It's separate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We just applied to this Converse sneakers studio partnership thing, and we just happened to get accepted, and Converse flew us to Brazil
Wow.
to record music.
That's incredible.
Don't you know I want to be one of your creations? I want to sing like the birds you make sing. I love your smile and the way you don't need me.
And there had been no activity for Via Audio for quite a while. You know, we released Natural Language, and we toured Shimu to LA, and the band is kind of just not active.
Yeah.
You know? We're just not doing anything. And then she told me, she was like, "Hey, I applied to this thing and we got accepted." I didn't know about it at all, actually.
We're going to Brazil.
And I had written that song, and I was going to put it on a solo record. And I said, wait a second, like, she would sound really good singing this song, and she came up with some cool arrangement ideas, and we worked with this drummer, and it worked out really well. And we just happened to have that one, and she had another song too that worked out really well as Via Audio. So
Awesome.
so these just two like sort of songs appeared from there.
It's a beautiful song. My buddy, I didn't realize I hadn't been following you guys on Facebook, because my buddy shared it. My buddy Corey, he's in a few bands, in Inspector Owl and a couple other bands.
Oh yeah, we're good friends with him.
Yeah. So he shared it, and I was like, oh my god, how have I not been following Via Audio on Facebook? And then the video was like this, like also this beautiful productions, like
Yeah, Jess just made that herself. Yeah, she just
What?
found cool stock footage, I guess. Yeah,
that's incredible.
yeah, just threw it together. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so I guess to rewind back for anyone who isn't familiar with Via Audio, which if you are not familiar, you should become familiar immediately. What is your, even before Via Audio, what is like your music history? How far back do you go starting playing instruments?
Well, when I was a kid, I would figure out video game music. I remember figuring out like Lemmings music, and music from Super Nintendo games back in the early 90s. And a lot of...
What do you mean figuring out, like on piano, on guitar?
Yeah, like playing
Okay.
on piano. Piano was my first instrument.
Okay.
And, then I got to guitar when the early 90s happened, and all the alternative rock, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden,
Sure.
Stone Temple Pilots, and all that stuff. I was excited about rock music at that moment.
I'm glad you said Stone Temple Pilots, because I don't think I've had someone yet say that, and that was like the band for me in the 90s. Core was
really.
like it for me.
And I feel the time's a ways to go. So where you go into tomorrow, and I see.
Yeah, I mean, they cultivated such an awesome vibe, you know. Like
Yeah.
I think that's what your goal is as a band, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, Anyway, yeah. So video games. Then I remember listening to tapes of Beach Boys, Michael Jackson, as a little kid, listening to those things, and then Queen and REM. When I kind of started getting into rock music,
Sure.
and Jimi Hendrix was always there through all that. Always loved Jimi Hendrix.
Do you remember what like the first song you learned on guitar was? Was it a video game song?
No, I kind of just played piano before before like learning. I have to say that Lithium by Nirvana was the first thing I ever played on guitar.
Okay.
I just listened for how to play the bass part, and
Sure.
I just found my way around the frets.
I'm so happy, 'cause today found my friends are in my head. I'm so ugly, that's okay, 'cause so are you. Look on mirrors, Sunday morning is every day for all I care. And I'm not scared, light my candles in our days, 'cause I
That's awesome, because and especially the video game thing is funny too, because two of the guys in Dr. Manhattan are brothers, Matt and Adam, and when we were all growing up together, their big thing was on PlayStation. There was a game called MTV Music Generator, and it was kind of like what was there was a Mario game that was like the two where you could do the key like the sequencing basically. There was like a Mario version of that, but it was basically they would just sit and make these like I think the idea of the game was just to kind of like noodle around, but like they made these beautiful like arrangements and songs out of these just this video game to noodle around with. And the first thing when you said learn video game sounds, that was the first thing I thought. It was just like it's funny how I think a lot of times for some people it's like, oh, I heard, I listened to this album, I listened to this song, but for some people like video games, and I'm assuming for a lot of people now, a lot of kids now, video games are going to be such a gateway to music, like in some form or another.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope so. I saw a pretty interesting YouTube video by this channel called Every Frame a Painting,
Okay.
which talked about film scoring and how everybody can sing the Star Wars theme, everybody can sing a Harry Potter theme.
Sure.
Nobody can sing anything from the Marvel universe, and that's because the music. Well, their thesis was that the music is not meant to clash with what's going on, and it's less memorable due to sort of things that are laid over it, like there's dialogue
Right.
laid over the music to kind of keep your attention. But I think also in tandem with all those effects, the music isn't supposed to be memorable. It's supposed to not even be noticed a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of melodic themes being in people's consciousness, as like as a way that they're entertained. I think
Yeah.
that's cool. I think that's like an important art that needs to continue being there, without even lyrics, just like cool melodies like that happened in a lot of video games. And I hope that there are some video game composers still doing that.
Yeah.
But I think there's also a lot of video game composition that is it's not quite as theme based, and it's just sort of vibey.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that's what's on my mind right now.
Yeah.
About video games and themes and stuff.
Have you thought about getting into composing for video games or writing songs for video games?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I do composition work, and right now most of my gigs are kind of like make music that's just generally background vibe.
Sure.
A lot of music that sounds like sort of the instrumental parts of a band like U2.
Okay.
Where it's just kind of like sweet and carpety.
Yeah. Carpety, that's a good word. That's awesome. So your first instrument's piano, you're learning guitar, kicking out Lithium, and At what point does playing in a band, or like, do you start playing with friends in bands in middle school, high school? When does that start jumping
Yeah,
in?
yeah, it was middle school, and we a few of my friends played at a friend's bar mitzvah. Just
Awesome.
like we like learned our early '90s cover repertoire. You know, we played "Zombie" by the Cranberries, and
Nice. Did you have a name? Did the band have a name?
the band just ended up being called Ephraim's Bar Mitzvah.
That's a great band name. I
Yeah,
wish that would have gone on to be like a band, and that just carried the name.
right. Yeah, so I had that, and like those same people pretty much became a band called Fresh and Tasty, which was a like a rocking kind of funky band, and I still like that music. It's the
Yeah,
music that we made together in high school is you know, it's definitely like something of the time.
sure. What would you say it's like akin to? You said it's funky, so is it like funk, or is it just
No, more
like early
Blood
Red Hot
Sugar
Chili
Sex
Peppers or
Pistols.
something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yes, we had a bit of that feeling, and
Sure.
we all loved Rage Against the Machine. We
Yeah.
all loved, you know, I guess some of us loved different parts of the singer was into like the cooler early '90s. I think Portishead was on his
Oh,
mind
okay.
a bit in New York,
That
but
is cool. That is cooler.
yeah, yeah. um, those are still interesting acts. Bjork definitely something
Yeah.
that's still pretty interesting to me.
Yeah. Early connotations of like Dr. Manhattan, the band before, we were big on Primus, and we
Oh,
would
cool.
just like learn Primus songs, play Primus songs, like super into it.
Yeah, I did at music college. I did a cover show of Primus.
Nice.
Yeah,
Do you
just
remember?
like
Do you remember what you played, or any of
Yeah.
the?
yeah, we did. My Name Is Mud. We did
Nice.
Bodacious. We did.
Okay.
Um, Jerry Was a Race Car Driver.
Sure.
Mr. Know It All.
Who's gonna ride Bodacious? Who's gonna take him down? Look out for Bodacious. He's bound to hold his ground. Here comes Bodacious. Y'all just step aside. I'm thinking bad Bodacious takes a toll from those who ride. Bodacious, yeah, I'm a whole lot of bull.
So you had a good drummer then.
Yeah, definitely.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say you can't have like a flimsy drummer playing Primus songs.
Yeah. For
That's
real.
awesome. And how long does Fresh and Tasty go on for?
Pretty much until end of high school. End of high
Okay.
school, and then in college, I was doing like kind of a jam band thing, sort of art rock jam band.
Sure.
You know, long songs and stuff like that. And I still like that music too. And
Name of that band?
that band had a few names. I guess the one that I think of when I think of that band is Stone Soup.
Okay, nice.
Stone Soup. Um,
And what college did you go to?
Berklee College of Music.
Okay, cool.
Then that was kind of like it was all spread out over the country. That I would actually go over to where the singer went to school at Reed College and play gigs there. They had really good festivals and
Nice.
and we played for just ridiculous hippie fun times. Yeah, so there was that, and then I was in a band that it was like kind of a new level of taking itself seriously, because I just took a number off a flyer to join this band. I auditioned for it. It was called King Size,
Okay.
and it was like a brush with sort of a new level of like these are people kind of in the industry, like
Yeah.
the managers were Bon Jovi's old managers. They
Oh,
had like
what?
Bon Jovi's, and the music kind of sounded a little bit like Bon Jovi. Actually, it was music that would work really well in in like '97 or so.
Sure.
But it was like 2002, so it was just like not gonna happen. It was not going to
Yeah.
really catch people's attention. It was just really catchy, rocking, melodic rock music.
Was it a band full of older guys than you, same age, or?
Yeah, a little older. I was 20 at the time, and the
Mhm.
singer was like 30.
Okay.
30, yeah. Yeah, I got to go to some amazing studios recorded in the same place that like the Stones recorded, and
That's awesome.
And I worked with a Grammy Award-winning producer who had worked with like Paul McCartney and Sting and all that. So,
Wow.
so it's like, whoa, this is such a serious thing, and I took it really seriously, and
Yeah.
it was fun. I think it lasted kind of just exactly the right amount of time. You know,
Yeah.
we did our thing, and we're like, okay, like this isn't really gonna sell, so let's all do other things.
Okay. So
But,
it ended amicably.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the singer just kind of, he was like, well, I got to move to New York and start doing that. We were all in Boston.
Oh, okay.
And pretty much like right after that, Via Audio popped up. So,
And how, I guess, going from Bon Jovi, circa '97 to Via Audio, you know, is Via Audio like how does it actually start? Is it friends of yours? Is it
actually,
like pulling a tag?
The band existed without me.
Okay.
In early 2003. So early 2003, the four of them are doing their thing, and I just randomly meet the bass player because I just liked playing music that I was into, like Mr. Bungle at this time.
And we had a Mr. Bungle thing for a while too.
and I just wanted to like play every genre of music at once.
Sure.
And I was working with just like not working, just playing with a drummer who also did that.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun. And he was like, "Oh, I met this bass player who sat in my techno rave ensemble because there was one of those."
Wow.
That's how you know it's an interesting school. That's a class you can take.
Yeah.
Techno rave ensemble. And so David Lismy was the bass player via audio, and he was the guy who sat in the techno rave ensemble. And eventually I had a jam session with David and Dan Millard, who's now in Lucius, but was a founding member of Via Audio and was in the band for the whole Say Something thing and wrote a lot of the music. So then, like they parted ways with their guitar player, pretty mutually. I think they both like went different directions and
Yeah.
And they had recorded, but before that they had recorded an EP. They had recorded the first Via Audio EP, and that was first done without me. And they took out the guitar parts, and they were like, "Record your thing over this." And I was like, "Okay, cool."
Oh, okay.
So actually, all except for Developing Active People, which
Okay.
was a song that I actually helped write.
Nice.
So it was like Danny, I think, came up with most of the vibe for the song, and Jess had something to do with the melody, and I wrote the ending and the guitar parts and stuff.
It's a good song.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah.
And if you park your car close to the curb, no one will have to swerve. And if you park your car close to the curb, no one will have to swerve.
So that was on our first EP, and we re-recorded it with Jim Eno later.
Okay. And going into a band that was already kind of chugging along, or I guess it was the early stages, did it click right away? Like you already kind of jumped in and restarted recording, or did it take some time to like feel each other
honestly,
out?
I wasn't sure that it was like my thing.
Yeah.
I respected it. I thought it was pretty cool. And I kind of was like, just being like, I'm just gonna like I'm just gonna fit. I'm gonna make this music on my guitar, like, and try to sort of take it where I want it to go, and just be open-minded to it. You know, 'cause I was not at all like an indie rock listener. You know.
Yeah.
I was basically just
you're knee deep in Mr. Bungle.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, I was super into Kid A.
Okay.
You know, and I guess I had roommates that listened to metal, so I got into Meshuggah, and
okay.
I was like definitely trying to freak out squares. And
that's a good way to put it.
And this music, the Danny and Jess at the time were listening to like "When the Pond" by Fiona Apple and Death Cab and things like that. Where, I guess like Fiona is definitely cool, and Death Cab's definitely cool. But it was a stretch for me at the time.
Yeah.
It was a stretch for me. So like, eventually, we kind of like came together a little bit more and created a sort of like middle ground.
Meshuggah meets Fiona Apple.
That's how I describe the audio. Yep. And Say Something was the definitely like the sort of collaborative moment between me and Jess and Danny and David, it was a really cool time. That was another sort of like, wow, like this band is being taken seriously by us and other people.
Yeah.
Moment in my life. It was really cool.
When you joined, since like you were kind of the odd man out in the equation, they were already a band, you were jumping in. Did you connect with all of them kind of at the same time? Did you come in and like write more with one person? Like, I guess, what was the dynamic when you started? Like you said, you were feeling each other out musically, like friendship wise. Did you kind of connect with everyone at the same time, or?
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty much the way that it happened. I remember just like meeting Danny and David, and they actually grew up together. They're both from Houston, Texas, and I was like, oh, these guys are like relaxed Texans. Being an East Coast person, their Texan vibe was interesting to me. It was different. It was, it was like, it's sort of, they're the kind of people that like, they walk into your house and they like go into your refrigerator and like, take your food, and like, I found that I was like, that's great. Like at first I was just like shocked by it, but then I was like, that's really, that's a kind of deep friendship that they like to have,
Yeah.
And Jess grew up in New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey, so we had like, I think we had a little bit of an understanding, whether or not she wants to ever acknowledge that she's from New Jersey or whatever. But, I think there's definitely a cultural familiarity there.
Sure. And so you guys record Say Something, and do you immediately start touring on it? Do you wait a little while? How does that all kind of shake out?
Yeah. I remember us releasing it, having an album release show at a little record shop in Brooklyn, and in 2007 when it came out, we did a lot of touring. Yeah, we did. We went around the country with Danny, and then right as 2008 hit, it was time for a new drummer because Danny went to do Elizabeth and the Catapult.
Okay.
And like at that drummer's first rehearsal, we got the word that we could go to Japan play a show.
Wow.
So he was lucky,
Yeah.
and that was a really beautiful experience. We got to go to Japan and open for Spoon.
Wow.
I was on 45th, I was half out of a bag. Yeah, I knew that you saw me, you laughed when I looked back.
How big of a show was that?
It must have been, I would say somewhere around 1,000 people. Yeah, so it was not like stadium huge. I think we played a bigger show in the U.S. opening for Cake.
Well, okay, we are getting into that.
Yeah.
I'm a big Cake fan.
Awesome. Yeah, they were super cool dudes. But we were in a college in Wisconsin for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I meant to actually ask, because I don't think we've talked about it yet, but since you and Jess both sing in the band,
Yeah.
like, had you always been a singer, or did you, because throughout your kind of timeline of playing in bands, you said you played instruments, but I don't know that you ever said you were singing in any of the bands. So, like, at what point did you start factoring singing into it?
I was never like the lead vocalist of well, I had one band in high school that I forgot to mention. That's a Sick Dick in the Volkswagen. Interesting band name. And that band,
That's great.
it was a bunch of nerds, and these guys were reading Thomas Pynchon novels, and that's where the band name came from.
Okay.
And like, we were like too geeky to even have a drummer, so we had a drum machine, and I played keyboards and sang in that band.
Okay. So you were Sick Dick?
I mean, I never identified as that guy, but I felt like that was our presence. That was a good band also.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did sing. You know, we like played the choir talent show. We didn't really play that much serious gigs or anything. So I was the frontman of that band, and then in Via Audio, Jess Martins was just really encouraging, I guess. You know, I kind of like brought a song, and I was like, oh, I've been writing lyrics a little bit, and here's the melody, and there was a song I think that ended up being on a bonus track on Say Something called "Seen Enough," and like Japan release or something.
Yeah.
And that was the first song I brought to the band, and I think, you know, she was just like, oh, you should sing it. You know, that was her sort of response to it.
So before that was just singing alone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of cool, because to me, I mean, obviously, since I don't know the history, I just assume, the whole purpose of the band was like, we're going to have the, you know, guy-girl singing dynamic, like, made me think of the anniversary
actually,
or something.
Well, Danny sings a lot on that first record.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think there was that, right, so yeah, revise that. Jess was not singing alone for a lot of songs, because like Developing Active People is two people singing in octaves. That's like, that's the vibe of that song. And
yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I was a big, like in high school, I was a big fan of the Anniversary. So when we played shows, most shows we played, especially in the early days, like 2007, we never played with bands that sounded like, you know, that had both a guy and a girl singing and like sang, you know, beautifully together, like, or like octaved and switched back and forth. Most of it was just guy sings or girl sings, or it's like mostly just metal bands, and especially at that time. And so that's why you guys really stood out, and to me especially, because I was big into all the like Vagrant bands, and so it kind of struck a chord in there for me. And then especially it kind of felt like that, and also transatlanticism a bit, and something else that I wasn't able to put my finger on, but it really stood out to me. That's, and to all of us, that's why we really got into you guys. It was really cool to. I mean, you know, when you play the hundreds and hundreds of shows, when there's a band that you like, you're like, okay, I'm holding on to this one because in a sea of all the opening bands, it's like, God love them. There's just not many ones that you hold on to. So it's just really, it was a bit. You guys really stood out to me in the sea of all the bands we played with.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm curious when you guys toured on Say Something. That was probably when we played with you, like 2007. Were you guys getting a good response? Like, were you on shows or was it like people didn't know kind of where to put you? Like, what were you getting a good feeling?
We had some weird like bookings, but I mean, I think they were good. That I remember those days. We toured, and we kind of got put into the punk scene, like, which, was kind of like works because those kids were into artistic pop music, and a punk is, by a very loose sense, you can call like Devo. People refer to as punk.
Yeah.
And people refer to Mr. Bungle as like alternative and punk, and people refer to Talking Heads as punk.
Yeah.
And it's not like literally like you're gonna wear a mohawk,
right,
and play Talking Heads and like play power chords really fast. It's just an attitude of like we're gonna be what we are, you know. So, and I think the people in those circles responded well to us just being what we were, and not being, not really conforming, I guess, is one thing the audio was good at, and maybe to its detriment also in terms of the music industry. Like you have to have a genre, and we would often say, well, we're just not going to necessarily do what the genre wants us to do. Yeah. So anyway, that's, I think, we ended up playing a skate park. We played a skate shop also. We played an Indian restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, after hours.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we played and a lot of all ages venues. Yeah, which was really great.
And at some point, I remember I think this was also all before, obviously before Facebook and like MySpace was the thing to be a band on and get your music out there. But, like I said, we would just pump Say Something in the van, play it a bunch, and then for a while, I don't think I had heard anything, and all of a sudden a buddy of mine was just like, oh, did you know VA Audio came out with a new album? And I was like, how? Like, it was like the past couple albums were all albums that like I had no idea until it was like months later, and I was like, what kind of a fan am I of this band? Like, I don't even know when the music comes out. And he passed Animal Lore on to me. He's like, dude, you got to get it. And there's another one that I just fell in love with. Like, it was like some songs were, picked it up were faster and like more rocking, and some other songs were even slower than Say Something, and like it was like taking everything and expanding on it, and it was perfectly up my alley.
Thanks.
Yeah, this is just going to be a kiss your band's ass fest if you haven't gotten the impression already yet.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, so what? I guess when did that album come into play, or when did you guys decide to record that, or?
That came out in 2010, and we had some songs, even for like the tour of like 2008. We definitely played some of those songs that I love. I think they're really fun, like Lizard Song. And
oh my god! When I was thinking of the songs off that album, that was the one that was going on in my head. Lizard Song.
Nice.
Just a happy little lizard in Japan, laying in the sun, crawling all along this beautiful land.
nobody's ever given me any trouble before. Now they're making sounds of thunder and fire by the shore.
Yeah, we Danny's last contribution was "Happening," the last song on that record.
Oh,
so,
okay.
his last song that he gave to the band, and that was a really important song to us. You know, it's just this really like warm song that we ended up playing a lot.
This is what we wanted. This is where we ought to be. Is it really, really happening? This is what we live for. This is where we ought to be. Is it really, really happening?
Yeah, so Lizard Song, Happening, we had those like fairly early on, and then the rest of the songs just came, you know, one by one. We arranged them with a new drummer, Adam Sturdivant, who I respected a lot. He was in some kind of like avant-garde jazz kind of bands.
Okay.
And he one thing he did was pretty cool at music school is he covered Square Pusher at his senior recital. You know what Square Pusher music is?
That does sound familiar to me, yeah.
So Square Pusher, it's like Aphex Twin.
Yeah.
Like, you know, crazy fast drumming, precise stuff. So he was kind of responsible for, in Lizard Song, he does a bit of that like fast.
Yeah, that's some ripping drums on that song.
Stuff. Right. So we you know kind of arranged the songs with him and got into some of that electronic idea stuff after we made Digital and Babies. I actually wrote the chorus to Babies in my sleep.
That's great. I'll let you know, and it as I'm about to say this out loud probably sounds inappropriate, but we have a 1-year-old daughter who is currently sleeping. The reason why this was getting pushed off, and I just recently made her a playlist of just songs that like she can dance around to, and Babies is on it. And so, although she doesn't get the lyrics, but like I'm putting songs that are like have good beats to them, where she can dance to. It's like Sam Cooke and Beyonce, and then Babies is on there too, and she gets down to it. So it's awesome for me.
Put your hands up. Ooh, I got the place surrounded. I know the world is overcrowded, but I wanna make things with you. No love is wrong when love is right. Surrender your love to me tonight. Ooh.
And then, went to Jim Eno's studio again. We did half of Say Something in Jim Eno's studio, and half was produced by Danny, just kind of at home.
Awesome.
And all of Animalore was recorded at Jim Eno's. Jim Eno is the drummer of Spoon, and he has a really sweet studio in Austin.
That sounds awesome.
And he, it's all very organic. It's really cool. We recorded the 2-inch tape. He has this Neve console, which is like a really amazing mixing board. Dave Grohl made a documentary about how much he loves the Neve mixing.
Oh wow, yeah. Wait, is that from Sound City or something? Or
Yes. Yeah.
okay, nice.
Then that's also that moment I kind of got into synthesizers, and today I actually play in a band. I play synthesizers in a band. That's kind of like my main instrument.
Oh,
in that
nice.
band. Yeah,
What is the band?
it's called Uni Ika Ai.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it's Japanese for urchin squid love.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out, man.
Yeah, that's been my main focus right now. The inmates are very cool. That's really, really interesting music, and it has a little bit of that like Bjork art pop thing going on.
Awesome. That's all I had to say was Bjork. You had me in for it. So
Yeah,
that's great.
awesome. So anyway, so that was Jimino's studio. Like a lot of fun experimentation went down to create those sounds. And I remember him saying for Animalore, and I remember him saying some cool philosophies about production, and just saying like, well, um, instead of using a already made electronic sound, I'd rather make something, with our effects, working with elements to create something original.
Awesome.
So all these Olga, the drums are pretty cool. They're slowed down.
Yeah.
And I remember Hello. He played. He's the drummer on that song. Actually, he played
Oh, wow.
acoustic guitar as a drum.
Oh, really?
That's what Hello is. Yeah.
Now I got to go back and listen to that. That's awesome. I
Yeah,
love
it's
hearing stuff like that.
Triple track. Yeah.
That's awesome. That makes going back and listening to that all the more better. To know that's what was being recorded to make that happen. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, hello. No, it isn't so hard to say. And you know, maybe it would
After you guys recorded Animalore, do you like when you start playing those songs live? Is it a similar like? Do you feel like you're getting bigger crowds?
Yeah.
Do you feel like people are into
Yeah.
it, or do you feel like it's kind of veering off in a different direction?
I mean, I think shows were great. Around that time in 2010, we definitely were still drawing pretty well. I think we definitely also around that time had other things going on,
Mm-hmm.
like other bands to play in.
Okay.
David and Jess played in the band Fun,
Oh, really?
Yeah, just for a tour. Yeah, before they had the huge hit.
Damn. I had no
so-
idea.
Yeah. And we, the momentum was pretty good. But I think, when like we got less than positive press for the record, we couldn't really get into like some cool things that we were trying to get to, and I think the response to that record was less of a like overall everybody's excited about it kind of thing.
That seems very weird to me because I feel like if you're into say something, that feels like Animalore is just like the natural kind of progression of a lot of those ideas. So
Thanks. I mean, I think what mattered to me the most was that the fan response was really good.
Yeah.
It was not like as well received by the industry, but I think most of the people that I kind of came into contact with, like a lot of people were still requesting a lot of songs from Animalore and
awesome.
for the live shows and stuff. And yeah, no, our momentum stayed fairly good for that record cycle, but that record cycle just kind of like did drift off.
Yeah.
And then our activity just kind of lulled a bit as we got into the natural language zone. And when we were there, we kind of never really made it back to like becoming a very active band like we were.
Yeah.
Back from like 2006 to 2011
Sure.
or so, and the bass player made the record with us. We had a couple of new drummers also. The drummer from Animalore went to Austin and became a writer.
Okay.
He went to school for writing, and so there are a couple of great drummers hanging around New York. Bill Campbell and Chris Berry. Chris Berry plays in Yeasair,
Oh wow.
and Bill Campbell has played in tons of bands like James Iha's band, and
Damn.
I don't know what else, but a lot. And so we played shows with either one of them.
Yeah.
And they were both on Natural Language. We felt great about the record. We recorded it with Danny producing the
Yeah.
record, so that was a really nice kind of reunion
Yeah.
with our old bandmate.
Sure.
And he, has kept on growing as a producer and engineer, and really eventually did a lot for Lucius to get them to where they are
Yeah.
today, in terms of sound design and all that.
On that album too is another like Animalore, both like really like I think have high production value, like are really good sounding albums.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I guess writing wise, the story of Natural Language is not that different from Animalore, but except for the tone of the writing ended up quite different because of like where Jess and I both were as writers at the moment of Natural Language. Was really like trying to kind of explore a personal space.
Sure.
And I ended up like kind of starting to write songs that were like expressing my religion in a way.
Okay.
Expressing like sort of what how I feel about nature and life, and sometimes it's really playful, and sometimes it's like it's really serious. But
Yeah.
but I wanted to like sort of be free with lyrics, but also feel a personal weight to all of them.
Yeah.
Saying all the same things, but things aren't the same. Is it all in my head? Or has your heart really changed? 'Cause once you go.
Did you guys tour at all on Natural Language?
We played shows locally for the
Okay.
most part. I can't remember if we really toured very much. I mean, I think we must have done maybe little a couple day tours.
Sure.
And then when it was kind of just like really dying down our activity, David, the bass player who had been with us for 10 years, from like 03 to 13, left the band because he was just he kind of started to like recognize his own ability
Yeah.
as a bass player who could just go out and get all the gigs. And
Yeah.
he did go out and get all the gigs. He was on SNL.
Really?
With Ezra, and he joined Ms. Mister, toured with them for a long time, and
Wow.
so he's had a good time, and now he works. Now I work with him again, actually, with my composition gigs. So
Oh,
he's
nice.
actually a content coordinator for the music house that I compose for.
That's awesome.
That's
Awesome.
cool.
That's a nice little button.
So after that, we did, we did one. We did one tour after he left, and found some other friends to play drums and bass for a South by Southwest tour, which was like all right, let's do like a little South by Southwest tour to release Natural Language, and
Sure.
Natural Language was very low key in terms of PR, and
Yeah.
it was all pretty just DIY, and really a beautiful thing to run into people who like still knew who we were and were fans or whatever. But yeah, like I flirted with the idea of what if I did a big PR campaign for it, and it was kind of, it just felt like it wasn't in the cards.
Yeah.
It just felt like this is what needed to happen is that we needed to record this record and put it out.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be the biggest deal in the world.
Yeah. And come to find out, PR campaigns are not cheap.
Right.
Like when you're paying out of pocket, like if you have people helping you out, it's one thing, but like when you start like teetering around with that on your own, like, because similarly I looked around for my own, even for the podcast, it's like I'd like people to find out about it, I'd like to get out, and then I started talking to people who do it, and I was like, oh, this is why people don't do this on their own, because it's
Right.
expensive.
Right, and you're basically buying a lottery ticket if a lottery ticket costs $10,000. It's like
It's true.
pretty harsh,
Yeah.
with no guarantee.
Right. And it's I mean, it's just like the rest of it. It's like you could put out a great album, no PR, and somehow somebody hears and it takes off, or vice versa, and you put a bunch of money into PR and it takes off or it doesn't. So it's like, who's to say like it's even worth it? It's hard to even know.
Yeah.
But I think, again, as I've reiterated multiple times, I think a big reason why you guys stand out to me is that you put out 3 full lengths. I don't know that I have the EP, or I don't think I do. But the 3 full lengths are all just like 3 solid albums. Each one of them, not like, oh, I like this one and then the other 2 whatever or anything. Like each one is, if you like, I feel like if you like one album, you can go back on any of the other ones and enjoy parts of it or all of it. So it's not,
wonderful.
It's not something you can say about all bands. Not something I can say about my own band. Like our band was very divisive in that we had like 2 full lengths and people very much either liked one or the other. So it's I just anytime I hear one of the songs off one of the albums, I have to end up starting it from the beginning. And that's like a big thing to me. If I'm doing that, it's like, okay, this is a band that like is like a top band for me. Otherwise, I can just hear a song and move on, kind of a thing.
That's so good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, big fanboy, and it, even more so because we played with you guys and I got to see you. It was only the one time, but see you live and see those songs live, and even from a place of I hadn't even known the songs at the time, so it was just like complete awe and wonder of like, oh, what is this? And it was at a show where there wasn't many people. Like there was a decent little crowd, but not many, and like we were just there watching it. Like those are some of my absolute favorite shows. There's just like not many people there, and there's a band that's great that no one else is there to see it but us. It's like, oh, this is for us only. It's our own little prize.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like you were saying before, like you were put on mismatched shows. Like that was a lot of shows we were put on were just like, even big bands, small bands, no matter what it was just like no one ever really knew what to do with us. So it's just this thing of like, it didn't at the end of the day, we just had to like do it for ourselves, put out play the music we want to do. But if we got to play with one band on the show that was awesome, that was like, all right, this is worth it to us. We came out, we got paid $20, but we got to find out about this band. Okay, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
So at what point does the new project you're in, when did that start up?
So I went to a friend's wedding, and this friend is Evan Smith, and he's a great sax player, and he managed to get into some super cool situations. He plays in Bleachers. You know about Bleachers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he played in Wild Birds and Peace Drums, which is one of my favorite bands of the 2000s.
Yeah.
Do you know about that band?
No, I think Wild Birds sounds familiar.
Wild Birds and Peace Drums is the name of the band.
Oh, okay.
It's just a singer and drummer, and a lot of their songs are just vocals and drums, and they're just like a Swedish band that like has this almost Nina Simone-esque soul
Oh, okay.
that, but with like very very free feeling music,
Awesome.
and rhythmically driving fun music.
The forbidden bridge, biking over in the rain. The wind will scream, a soprano in deep air.
So Evan got to play keyboards in that band. You know, this really rare opportunity to play as like a third member in a two-piece band. And but anyway, he's a cool dude. Long story short, and he was part of this big New York music scene. He lives in Portland, Maine, so we went up to Portland, Maine to hang out at his wedding, and I ran into Pete Lalish, who's the guitar player of Lucius now, but we were all just like in the scene together. You know, there's this really awesome tight-knit scene in New York.
Yeah.
A lot of people who moved down from Boston, from Berklee College of Music and other music schools, just like mashed together, and like we would hang out at Rockwood, and they would play in their Irish punk band called the Prigs, and everybody would just get drunk and party until 3 a.m.
That's awesome.
So Pete Lalish is at the wedding, and Maya Friedman is also at the wedding, and both of them are starting to make music together as Uni Ika Ai.
Okay.
So they've, like, Pete has been on tour with Lucius, kind of experimenting with his guitar. He's a really interesting kind of guitar sound maker, and he's been sending Maya these loops, and she's been writing melodies over them. And I show them what I'm up to, and I'm in a band called Lazercake, which is a band. I'm playing guitar, and it's like a gym rock band. It's like a workout video rock fun. It's like it has some 80s, but it's got some Michael Jackson feels on guitar, which I love.
Awesome.
I know that's what you're gonna say. This town is just a skip away, and I ain't ready to make a change. You got a little hesitate, but I won't listen to reason. Gonna make a play now.
That was a great band. I mean, I hope it's not over that the singer also, like, just moved to LA. Robbie Sinclair, who's the singing drummer of Lazercake, moved to LA.
Okay.
But they both insist that the bands that I'm in with them are not done. So
They're just gonna coax you into moving into LA at some point.
right. Anyway, I show them Lazercake, and they show me the beginnings of this Uni Ika Ai, and I say, "Ooh, this is really cool! Like this, like Maya's got this beautiful voice, and she's singing this, you know, these really urgent feeling melodies, and Pete's guitar stuff is just unique. It's really he uses these time effects in a really fresh feeling way. You know,
Okay.
these reverse delays that kind of sound like ocean waves,
Wow.
and things like that. And the record ended up being very watery. You can watch Blue Planet and listen to the record. It makes sense. Yeah, meeting them at the wedding, and we just kind of like said, "Oh, what are you up to? I'll send you this. I'll send you that." And then I wrote them, and I was like, "Hey, like, you know, are you looking for band members? Because I play a lot of instruments, and I will do it." So so I went and auditioned for that, and it went really well. I just kind of played some sort of baroque lines on the synth bass,
Nice.
and it worked out for the music. And we recorded a record like about a month or two later.
And what is the name of that record?
Oh, that's a mouthful. Also, it's keeping a golden bullseye in the corner of my mind,
Okay.
and it's coming out in a month or so.
Oh,
October
nice.
8th. October
Awesome.
18th. Yep.
So, is there music that's out already that people can hear, or is this the
Yeah.
first really? Oh, there's okay, cool.
Yeah, we have like a couple of singles. Like we have a single out and a music video out for another song, and
Awesome.
uniikaai.com, uniikaai.com, and
Okay.
pretty much you could find everything that's our music right there.
Awesome. And are you guys planning on playing out, touring, just kind of see what happens?
We've been doing our thing. We've been touring. We just did our first tour around New England, a lot of DIY venues, and
Awesome.
it's been really cool. I think the crowd response has been excellent, and I'm excited to put the record out. We're going to play Union Pool in New York and in Brooklyn, which is a sweet hipster venue with
Awesome.
a taco truck.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So, I guess, yeah, like, I mean, you've got the current project, you've got potentially Lazercake and Via Audio in the future, maybe? Any other plans or ideas or hopes or?
I've started making a solo record.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've made about 5 songs, and that is also a sort of production adventure for me. I wanna like do a lot of experiments in sound and
Sure.
see where I can go with that. But there's also a Sufi music band. I play harmonium and guitar, and I'm learning Indian classical music on the guitar.
Wow.
I have a teacher who plays the sitar, and I just play along with the guitar. And yeah, it's with just at least 2 other guys. A guy from Pakistan who sings in Urdu, Rumi poetry, and South Indian violinists. So we just there are melodies, but most of it is improvised around those melodies.
Yeah.
And that's been really fun. I've mostly been playing house shows in Philadelphia, just little salons in people's houses.
I'd have to say, man, you've had one of the most interesting and spanning music careers I've ever heard. Like, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I started in a punk band and I played in these other 5 punk bands. Like, you have played in seemingly all of the different kinds of bands.
Thanks. Yeah, it's definitely fortunate to find musicians who are into going there. You know, like these guys in Philly in the Sufi band, and people who are willing to experiment. You know, I think at one point, I think I still have to say I still believe this, but I wrote down rules about what it means to be a musician, and I think the first one was a musician is an explorer. So
Yeah, that's good.
so I think it's really important to just see where the great indoors of your own spirituality takes you, and also the spirituality of everything else. You know, because there's a lot of direction to be listened to there.
So I feel like in 5 years, are you going to come out with your solo album that was recorded atop a mountain in some exotic country off in the distance?
That would be great. I want to. I'm hopefully putting out this solo album as like a jumping off point, because like a lot of the songs are just like old songs that like wouldn't work with Via Audio,
Yeah.
and it's like my my directions are already kind of starting to move on from all of it. Like
Sure.
I want to keep on getting into different things, and yeah, my music collection is generally just picking through the world music section of record stores, um, because yeah, I just want to know what the traditional music of Korea is, what the traditional music of Afghanistan is, and those are two really cool ones. If you haven't checked out,
No, I have not.
what Korea or Afghanistan is. Yeah.
Okay. And where can, aside from like specific projects, do you just have your own personal kind of like portfolio or website people can follow you in musical projects, or just just Google your name and try to keep up with you
Um,
for like
that's
solo
that's a
album?
good
and whatnot?
idea. You know, I want to have a website and like put some music on it and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Just be my friend on Facebook.
There you go.
I will definitely write about all the stuff I'm doing,
Awesome.
and if you want something, let me know and I'll give it to you.
That's great, man. And how do you pronounce your last name?
Dice.
Dice. Okay, because when I look at it, it looks like Day to me, like it would be written out Day or something. Tom Dice. Okay. Awesome. Well, this is great, man. And now I have some new music to check out, which I'm excited about. With the last thing that Via Audio did, or for the Converse thing, does that mean something else is coming out soon for that, or what? I guess what is happening?
Well, just that we re-released Natural Language with 2 extra tracks on.
Okay.
My friend is starting this really interesting music streaming thing called Vishnu's Trumpet, and I said, you know, like if you want to re-release the Via Audio record with the 2 extra tracks, that would be cool, and he was into it, so it's kind of premiering there, and Vishnu'sTrumpet.com for if people want to get the record Natural Language. That would be a cool place to get it and
Cool.
get the 2 extra tracks. What was the question? I'm lost.
Yeah, I just, if there was like a proper release, like is Natural Language getting re-released soon? Is it out now? Like
Oh yeah.
it's out now.
Yep.
The re-release. Okay.
Yes, the re-release is out on that Vishnu's Trumpet place.
Awesome. Well, great, man. Well, this is a good one for me. It was, like I said, close to my heart because definitely one of my top favorite bands. So appreciate you giving the time tonight, man.
No problem. Yeah, it's so nice to hear that you like the band, and yeah. I hope we play a show again sometime.
That'd be incredible. And one more time, the new band. What is the name of it?
Uni Ika Ai.
Uni Ika. What? Uni Ika.
Uni? Yeah.
Hi.
Uni Ika Ai.
Ai.
AI is the last word. Yeah.
Hi. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, man. Thanks for staying up late too. Appreciate it.
It's all good.
And I'll keep in touch and let you know when things come up. If there's if I can have you on again in the future or something when new projects are coming along. When you're recording the new solo stuff, if the audio or Lazercake picks it up again, I'd love to have you on again.
Cool, man. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Well, take care of yourself until then, and thanks for doing this, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good
Have a
one.
good night.
Don't
Bye.
you know I want to be one of your creations? I want to sing like the birds you make sing. I love your smile and the way you don't need me. some